Hello, our dear viewers. You're welcome again to the BNS podcast today. I remain your humble co-host, Bruno. I'm right here today with a very special person, a very special guest. Is in our midst today, Miss Marley. Miss Marley, you're welcome to the BNS podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and thank you for having me, Bruno. I'm really
Yeah,
honored.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. Before we move further, I would like you to introduce yourself to the audience. They would like to know who Miss Marley is. Please, who is Miss Marley?
Oh my God, that's kind of a loaded question. So my name is Marley. I live in Toronto, Canada. Um, I work for a film union, if they want to know a little bit about my background. And my story, should I get into that? Just my accident or?
That's fine. That's fine. You can. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I am a burn survivor of, sorry, I just want to make sure that my phone doesn't come off here. So I'm a burn survivor of 25 years. My accident happened when I was 7 years old by hot water, and I can go into the details about that. But I've been on this journey recently trying to overcome and embrace my scars currently. I know right now it's not pretty obvious. I like to say that I'm a double agent. With my scars, a lot of people don't actually know I'm a burn survivor until I tell them. I've kind of lived my life that way, hiding since I was a kid. And now that I'm getting older and with a lot of growth, I'm really trying to find a way to embrace my scars, and I'm trying to help inspire other people to embrace any insecurities they may have as well.
Wow, that's wonderful, Miss Marley. I actually know that this is a very hard one for you because people, when they see you, they don't know maybe you passed through this incident in your life. So that's why you're here today to talk about it. And your story is very, very powerful because this happened at a very young age.
Yeah.
You didn't know and you got into that incident. But can you take us back to how it happened, where it happened, the whole process? What can you remember that actually happened that day? Please take us back.
Yeah, I actually remember like the whole thing. It stuck like in the back of my mind very vividly that day. So I'm Guyanese, and I just recall my grandma was babysitting us. So I have a twin sister as well, and she was there with me as well, and my older sister. And I recall my grandma had made a pot of curry chicken, and she was like, "Are you hungry?" And I said, "I didn't want that. I wanted my peanut butter and jelly sandwich." So um, my grandma, I think, was boiling a pot of hot water on the stove next to the curry chicken, which was put aside. And I recall trying to climb up on top of the counter and reach for the cupboard and pull the cupboard open. And unfortunately, at some point, my knee slipped. I think the counter was a bit wet, and my elbow had hit the pot of boiling water on the stove, and it flipped over and it hit my head and down to my feet. Like all of the water had fell down to my over my whole body actually. In that moment, to be quite honest, I could remember my skin being like scalding, like burning hot. And I had like a pajama set on, and I recall trying to lift the pajamas off of me because it was clinging onto my skin. It was really, really hot. And it was just really hard to get my clothes off just because of how the water had fallen on top of me. And I actually had my uncle, he was bedridden. He was actually in the living room. He witnessed this entire thing. And I remember him seeing, like, looking in sheer terror. And he couldn't do anything about it because he couldn't walk. So I just recall running up the stairs, trying my best to get my clothes off, and telling my grandma about it. And unfortunately, nothing to fault my grandmother, but back home where she was from, when you get a burn and you tell someone you got burned, they put cocoa butter on it or something else to like heal the burn, soothe it. But she did rub some cocoa butter on it, and I think at this point I was in complete shock, so I didn't feel anything. And I just recall seeing my skin like peeling off, and I remember kind of laughing about it. I thought it was funny at this point because I don't think I felt the pain. But I recall my twin sister and my older sister, they were staring at me and I could see the horror in their face, and they were screaming because they didn't think it was funny, but I thought it was funny. And some time had passed now, like maybe I would say maybe about 15, 20 minutes between the time that the water had went over my skin and my grandma putting the cocoa butter on me. And I think my older sister, she was, I would say, about like 10, 11. I think she was realizing this is a little bit more serious than what it seemed. She ended up calling my mom at work, and my mom started screaming and said, "You need to call 911. You need to call the hospital." And I don't know who called, but the ambulance did eventually come, and they advised that they put me in cold water. So eventually I made my way into the shower and I rinsed off in cold water, and the ambulance had came. And I do recall some of the EMT uh, from the ambulance when they were looking at me in the washroom. I do recall one of them saying, like, staring at me, and he looked at his partner and he said, "It's too late." And I didn't really know what that meant at the time. But now, obviously, after going through all of the surgeries and spending a lot of time in the hospital, I do realize now that the severity of my burns, I think it passed a certain point of time that there was no way to recover how much damage had happened from the time that the hot water hit me and the time that the cocoa butter had went on my skin and not being put in the cold water, because basically I would say like it exacerbated the scarring and the way it damaged my skin. So in terms of like my burns, I am burned 60, I would say about 50-60% of my body, from my shoulders to my legs and my chest, and it ranges between first, second, and third degree burns. And I've had about, I would say, 5 surgeries, more cosmetic, skin grafting as well. So yeah, so that was basically like the gist of like the beginning of how the accident happened and the overall surgeries that I had to endure. I stayed in the hospital for 3 years, and I was at Sick Kids Hospital as well in Toronto, and they're amazing. So they have a really good burn unit there.
Wow, that's wonderful. If I may ask, if you should look back to what happened, do you some kind of have a regret or maybe wish that your grandma would have done something better rather than, robbing you shea butter? Do you kind of like, okay, sit back and, you know, try to remember that day and say, okay, if your grandma had known something about this, she would have done something better, that the bond won't have been this bad to you?
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't have that realization until I got older because I didn't understand or realize as to like how my burn got so bad. But I actually started to get a bit more education recently. I started researching it a little bit more, and I'm actually a part of a burn community now in Toronto that I found within these past recent years. It's called Life After Burns. And they started educating me and telling me in terms of healing and things that you shouldn't put on your burns. Like I actually wasn't that aware, like about like I mean, you would think that it's kind of self-explanatory, like not to put like oil or like cream, but a lot of people culturally, they don't have that education to know. When I look back now and seeing that my grandma did that, I knew she didn't mean, she meant to help with the burn. And it's hard to say. I feel like a bit conflicted because for many years after finding that out, I'm like feeling, not to say upset with my grandmother because she's no longer here, bless God rest her soul, but sometimes I wonder if she ever had any regrets. I don't know if the regrets came from me, but did she regret doing that? Like I do think about that sometimes. So it does weigh a little bit heavy on my heart to think that, and sometimes with accidents, not to say that she caused it, but when you have an adult taking care of a child, sometimes they do feel that responsibility that they weren't able to care for that child if something happens in their care. And so I think there's a bit of like, I guess, regret or uneasiness that I never got to talk to my grandma about these things or be able to look back and say like what could have been different that day, because mistakes happen, accidents happen, you can't help those things, right? But I would say it's more, I wish I could speak to her about it now and just say like definitely I don't feel any heaviness in my heart, just more so that, like it's all a learning process and things like this. Like I'm trying to educate people that with burns and burn education, like things like this happen all the time, and it's just good to educate people on these things. So
Yeah. So, like they say, things happen for a reason. And I believe with this incident that happened in your life, it has really, really shaped you to understand what it means to be resilient, right?
to be what? Sorry.
Be resilient, right?
Yes, resilient. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let's move away further from that for a bit. Now, Sick Kids Hospital played a very big role in your healing, right? I would like you to talk about that because during the course of your discussion here, you mentioned something about Sick Kids Hospital. Okay, I would like to know how they played a very big role in your healing process.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of spent like a good 3 months there in the hospital, and my mom stayed by my side in the hospital as well. Their burn unit, and as a kid, I didn't really know much because still till this day, there's still a lot of new technology that's being introduced in hospitals. But at that time, I would say that Sick Kids Hospital, their burn unit was quite advanced. Um, I would say the nurses took really good care of all of the kids that were in that burn unit. From I was actually the eldest kid, surprisingly, even though being seven, the eldest in that unit. So, in terms of even being treated, I was always the last one to go into surgery, last person to eat, last person for changes of bandages and showering. So it was a little bit hard on my mom. And but in terms of the nurses, all of them took as much great care as they could. I actually had to be rehabilitated in terms of walking. I lost the ability to walk in my legs, just through like the weakness of like the bandages on my legs. But every single day, they put a lot of care into all of my physiotherapy, in changing my bandages, and just being a really good support system to me and my mom. I feel like it became a really good home for me, honestly, for those 3 months. I didn't actually feel like I was a sick child in a hospital. It was quite fun, actually. They actually had like, if I don't know if you recall if this is from like your era, but the Blockbuster, they had that inside the sick kids hospital. I remember going down to the Blockbuster, getting my VHS tapes and like watching movies all day. And they actually had some people come in because I was missing school for 3 months. They had some volunteers come in and they would do like computer classes with me, and yeah, I had a lot of great memories, I would say, in that hospital. The nurses were always very, very supportive, and it really felt like a big family.
Wow, that's wonderful to hear about that, and for your mom to always be there, and your twin sister to also be there as
Yeah.
well as your support. You know, one thing with healing is you need people around you who can believe that you can heal from this. They need to be there for you. They need to provide for you. They need to cheer you up to let you know that you're not in this alone. I'm glad that your mom and your sister were there for you to help you pull through this. Well, I'd like to ask you another question. Now, from the course of my research about you, now you said the hardest journey was when you left the hospital. Now, why was this? When you left the hospital, what actually happened? Were you bullied? Were you being laughed at because of your scars, your friends in school? What really happened after, after spending this whole time in the hospital?
Yeah, so I mean, leaving the hospital was hard because obviously now it's like I can hide it quite well, and style. You can put makeup on, but my burns were quite visible actually on my face. It was like a little bit further up, so it was very hard and challenging as a kid to hide on my face my burns, and on my body if I wore certain things. And kids can be mean in general, and they don't understand, right? They'll bully you for anything. And I recall actually like when I would go sometimes to family parties or kid parties, I had kids running away from me and being scared. Like they would actually start crying when they would see my scars. And I definitely internalized that a lot. And I think really, really quickly, my mom caught a sense as to like, kids obviously don't understand and they're going to be horrible. She used to hide my scars. She would make sure to dress me in a way that would hide it as best as she could, and it became kind of learned behavior. I think because my mom was trying to protect me, she would make sure I dressed to hide my scars because I had the ability to do that. My scars weren't too much like visibly on my face or on my hands. And I would say throughout my childhood, I became this double agent, like I said. I was able to learn very quickly that I won't get the stares, I won't be treated differently if I hid my scars. And that's why I've developed this, like this whole image where no one knew I was burned. Like growing up, like ultimately no one knew unless I told them. And I think that for a long time, we've just been holding this secret, almost felt like. But I would say, like, as a kid, it definitely was hard on me. And I kind of had like a bit of a tomboy era where I thought, I'll never get married. I'll never have a boyfriend. I'll never ever be in love. I actually put in my mind that I would never be lovable. I would never have a partner that would want to date me. Like, to be quite honest, I thought that would never be a reality for me. So I didn't ever put emphasis on like dating anybody. I thought that I could just hide this forever for my whole life. And like obviously the reality of it is you get older and you start to realize those things are important. I want those things. I want to date, right? And so it felt like I was always holding this secret. And even people that I wanted to date, I didn't really tell them until we got more serious. And to me, it always felt like I was holding this big secret and I don't know why. So it
Is
definitely
that
hard on me, yeah, throughout many years of my life.
wow? Oh, Mali, this is getting interesting. This is really getting interesting. Question for you, but before I ask you that question, let's just go for a short break, okay? You're welcome to the Business Podcast. If you're just joining us, we have here live Mali. She's a born survivor and she has passed through a lot in her life and she's here to share her story. Mali, you're welcome once again, okay? Now, before we left, I told you I wanted to ask you a question. Now, this is a very interesting question. Now, at what point did you begin shifting from shame to acceptance? Now, was a moment or a breakthrough? Because you said it yourself that you've been hiding, your scars for so long. People wouldn't even know that you had bonds unless you tell them. So, at what point did you start accepting it and start showing off or showing people that yes, you're a victim of this?
That's a good question. I don't know if there was a specific moment, but I definitely know that it started to transition for me like little by little. Cause with anything that you're overcoming, it's a journey. You're like up and down. Like some days you're like, I'm good. And then the next day you're like, why am I doing this? Right. But like I said, I found a burn community here in Toronto called Life After Burns. And this is during the pandemic. So I think this was around the time that everybody thought like I'm gonna like start something new or I want to face my fears. I think we were all like reflecting a lot during the pandemic at this time. And I didn't know one burn survivor in my whole entire life. My whole 30 years of life, I didn't know any burn survivors. And I thought during this time, during the pandemic, I'm like, let me search up and see if there is like a burn community. And I had searched up online, um, you know, and I found Life After Burns and I attended my first peer support. They had this peer support where burn survivors can join and talk to each other. And that was the first time I would say that I didn't feel alone anymore. And I realized there's so many other people like me who's been through just as worse, if not more. And they are going through life with so much resilience and confidence and embracing their scars. And I think that was the moment when I realized that there's people who's going through things similar to me and they're embracing it and they're doing things in life that I'm like very inspired by. And I think that was like the turning point for me to be like, I want to be like that. So
Yeah, that's good. That's actually wonderful. So it's very nice to join communities that think alike or they have, they're in the same group with you, so that once you meet them, they can share ideas, things that you don't know, you know from them,
yeah,
and things that they know from you. So
exactly.
that's very. I want to ask you something about your confidence. Now, during all this process, definitely you're a woman, and most times your confidence might be low, your confidence might be high. Now, the times when your confidence might be very low, how do you navigate around that? Because you might feel insecure. Maybe when you meet someone, you try to hide your scars, so they won't know you're a victim of this. So during those times, how do you navigate around it?
That's a good question. So there's many days that I feel low, to be quite honest. Like there's days that I really have to put on a good face. I would say the lowest that I tend to feel is when I'm in a situation where I can't hide my scars anymore. It's like literally like exposing myself to the world, and it's the scariest feeling even till today. Even though I'm like posting online, it's like snippets of like when I'm having those good moments, and then there's days like I said where I feel like it's like so scary. And especially even when I'm on vacation, like, hot countries and I want to wear a bikini and I want to be like, like everybody else. And I know like at some point I'm going to have to get in the pool and people are going to start seeing, right? And there's going to be days like that, even if I'm not in a bikini, but in regular days where I'm just feeling so low. Like, I feel like the best thing for me, honestly, it's like my support system because I have my partner, Kenny. We've been together for like 10 years, and he's been on this journey with me, like through all of this. And anytime I've ever felt low on myself, he's always been able to say the right thing to get me out of it, to get me out of that line of thinking and finding, a way through it. Um, and I would say also my twin sister. I feel like she's just a built-in like support system for me, like through the time I was burned when I was a kid till now. She understands me through and through. So all I can really say is like having like my pillars, like my closest people to me, my family, they have been, I would say, like the most supportive in being able to get me out of those very, very low moments in my life.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's very nice to have all these people around you, and I'm very happy that you have these people around you to help you pull through all this. Okay. Now, if I may ask, for you passing through all this, now what does broken not shattered mean to you?
Oh, broken, not shattered. Okay, so for me, I always say, because like people always tell me, you're so resilient. Like, what happened to you? Like, you're like beyond resilient. And I know they're telling me this, but I don't know what it means, right? Like, I don't know how I embody that in any way, right? And I feel like everybody has resilience. Everyone's been through something, whether it's been physical, emotional, mental, whatever the case may be. But I always like to remind myself, like, I feel like being broken or being resilient and having to overcome something, it's not about how strong you are in the situation. It's really how you show up, how much you can show up for yourself at every step of the way, just showing up as best as you can. It's not about always being super strong and showing the strongest face. And I feel like that's what I've done for so many years, my whole life. And I feel like it's just, yeah, like for broken, not shattered, I feel like really embodies that. It's like, even though like you can go through something so life shattering, it's like you can still pick up the pieces, whatever that might look like.
Exactly. You've really done justice to that. The reason why I asked that question is because your situation is quite unique because you had this incident when you were very, very young. And since then till now, you're still here trying to talk about it and trying to let people know how you felt or how you're feeling about it. Now that brings me to the next question. Now you now share your story publicly. Okay. What motivated you to start speaking up after so many years?
So I think it was more for myself at first. Because like I said, it's like this big secret I've been holding in. And I feel like I cannot live like this anymore. I cannot live this double life. I need like to be free. I just want to be able to just like let go of this deep breath I'm holding in. So I kind of started it to show myself that I can be myself and it's not that scary as what I've thought it was going to be. I wanted to prove to myself that the world is not that horrible because I really believed that I would be judged. And I just needed to, I guess, step over that fear I've had for so many years. And then eventually it got to a point once I made my first few posts, so many people reached out to me, not even burn survivors, like people who've been through other things in their lives, whether they have autoimmune diseases or other things, like whether they have like a lot of body changes or health issues. People have reached out to me and said, I appreciate you so much for opening up. And they said like it's inspired me, and I feel like it just makes them feel less alone. So I feel like really and truly that's what's been pushing and motivating me to continue doing this. And that's why I've just been like, this is what I want to continue doing. I feel like it's really important, and I feel like we're able to connect. A lot of us can connect on these things.
Exactly. And on that note, I believe that our audience will definitely pick up one or two from you because you're really pouring out your mind and your heart and everything that has happened to you, which is very, very vital and very, very great. Um, I actually applaud you for doing this because it's very difficult for survivors to come out to talk about this because there are people that you need to push before they could do it. But you had to channel the energy in yourself to come out to talk to people about it, to share your story because there is no how you come out to share your story and people won't come back to you to say thank you very much, because there are people who are passing through this. They don't know what to do, they don't know how to even go about it. But you sharing your story is letting them know that they have a voice and they need to speak. Okay, which is very, very wonderful. Thank you for that, Mali. Now, my next question for you goes like this. If you could go back to speak to yourself when you were in the hospital, okay, what would you tell yourself when you were in the hospital, when you were little and the thing happened and you went to the hospital? What would you tell yourself on the hospital bed on how to motivate yourself going forward?
Oh, Bruno, you're asking me all the hard, all the hard questions. Uh, oh, it's a really yeah, it's a really good question as well. Oh, like what do I tell my little 7-year-old self? I feel like there's so many things I would say. Um,
Yeah.
oh, I mean, I guess like one thing I wish if I could have me come back in time and talk to my younger self, I would just tell them that tell myself that it's not don't have fear. It's not that scary. And to lean on like your family and friends. Confide in like the people you trust in. Find your community. And I feel like as a kid, I just tried to fit in groups that I never really fit in with. And I feel like that's why it was scary for me to open up. I never was in the right place where I needed to be. And I feel like now I found my community and I feel like that's why I'm thriving the way I am. So I'd say find your community, find your voice. It's okay to speak up and don't be scared. Don't have fear because there's going to be a community out there that's going to support you. That's what I would
Mhm.
tell.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for that, Mali. That's a very nice answer to that. Now, what do you think society must understand about bond survivors? Because there is still somebody out there who is thinking, okay, I'm still skeptical about this. I just want to hide my scars forever. I don't want to show it to people. I don't have confidence again because of this. Now, what do you have to tell to those people? Let's just assume that yes, we have somebody at the comment section now typing that yes, I don't know how to go about this. I'm also a born survivor, but I don't have the confidence like you. Now, what do you have to say to them?
Oh, I have like a few burn survivors who do reach out and they always tell me, they say they don't know how to move forward in life. They don't know what to do. Like they want to they want to get to a place that they can be confident as well. All I can say is not a one day thing. It's not a one day fix. Like once you overcome it, you'll never feel this insecurity again. There's going to be moments you're going to feel low again. And to be easy, have grace. Like I said, lean on like your community, your support system. Find one good person that can support you when you have those low moments. If it's about like embracing your scars, I still struggle with that too. I'm not perfect. And I would say that do it in a way where you feel comfortable. Like start small. If it has to do with like embracing your scars, I would say do it in places where you feel comfortable with, like whether it be like your family at first or friends or like a small gathering. um, I feel like getting over like your insecurities or just trying to kind of face the world again as a survivor, it's going to take a bit of time. And I would say it's just a journey. So, I mean, I don't think there's any perfect way or advice I really can give because I'm still going through it. And I just say, like, take it day by day. Really, just take it day by day and just have grace.
Oh, thank you for that, Mali. Now, our audience, you've heard that from Mali. Take it step by step and do not overthink it. Everything will fall in place, okay? Thank you very much for that, Mali. Now, before we go, Mali, I know we've taken much of the time. Before we go, there's something we do on the BNS podcast. It's called the drop off question, okay? Now, the last guest we had on the show gave us a drop off question for the next guest, which is you. Now, the person doesn't know who you are. The person just gave out the drop-off question. Now, we will ask you the question. Then, in return, you give your own drop-off question for the next guest. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. So this is the question from the last guest. Okay. They said, "What has life taught you that no book or classroom can ever teach you?"
Oh my God. That's a good one.
It
What
says
is,
again,
what
"What
has,
has life Yes. What has life taught you that no book or classroom can ever teach you?
That's such a deep question. I don't know how to answer that.
There's
all,
no right or
ah,
wrong or
all I can say is we got one life and just live it to the fullest. And that's how I'm trying to live every single day. Like you got one life, live it to the fullest and don't have fear. Like do what you want and there's no mistakes in life. Like making a mistake is not doing what you want to do. If you make a mistake, then it just pushes you right in the right direction. So I don't think there's any mistakes in life. And yeah, that's all I can really say.
Thank you very much for that, Mali. That's a very, very nice answer. Thank you very much for that. Now, what's your own drop-off question for the next guest? Regardless of who the person is, we don't know who the person might be. Don't overthink it. Just ask any question in your mind, okay?
Mm.
Any question at all.
Mm. Um, if you can choose,
Okay.
if you can choose to meet any person, like whether it be a celebrity or a figure, dead or alive, who would it be and why? How have they inspired you?
Okay. So if you can meet any celebrity, right?
Or figure,
Um,
someone of
uh,
importance, dead or alive, who would it be and how do they inspire you?
okay. That's a very, very, very nice question. And to our next guest, this question will be very, very interesting for you to answer. Thank you very much for that.
No
That's very, very interesting.
problem. Thank you, Bruno,
Uh,
for having me, and I really appreciate it. And you're such an amazing host. You make it so easy to talk.
very much, Mali. So before we go, I would like to ask you, where can people find you? Our audience might be asking that, trying to get to know you more, to ask you questions. So where can people find you, please?
Yeah, so I have Instagram and TikTok. If anyone wants to follow or connect on Instagram, I'm free. You can send me a DM. My Instagram handle is _Neytiri. That's NEYTIRI. Sorry. And my TikTok would be Natalina J. That's NATALINAJAY. So you can shoot me a message on either. I'm around, and yeah. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So our audience, you've heard that. So try to reach out to her. Any questions you have, please reach out to her. She'll definitely answer you and give you feedback. Okay. Now, I'd like to ask you one more question before we go, Mali. Now, do you have any upcoming projects, maybe books, initiative that might be in your mind that you want to tell the audience to know about, or none?
Currently, nothing in the works, but honestly, it's been on the back of my mind. It's something that I definitely thought about. But if I do ever have anything in the future, you can definitely find me on Instagram, and I'll be sharing more of my journey. So, yeah.
All right, thank you very much for that. Now, we've taken so much of your time. Thank you very much, Mali, for this. Thank you for coming to the show. Now, please, our audience, if you've not subscribed, please go ahead to subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, on TikTok, on LinkedIn as well. Please do also follow us so we can give you all this content. Okay. Before we go, these are our three famous words: love, peace, and more grace. Thank you very much, Mali, for gracing the podcast. Okay.
Oh,
See
thank
you.
you, girl. Thank you. All right, take care. Bye.